If you've ever woken up to a dead mouse on your pillow, you already know the feeling. Something dropped a body at the foot of your bed like a rent payment and left before you could ask why. And if you've never owned a cat in your life, you've probably still heard the theory anyway, because it's one of those facts that escapes the internet and just becomes common knowledge. Cats think you're a cat, not a small one, a huge one. Slow, clumsy, and somehow still alive despite being terrible at hunting. Here's the number that started this whole theory. Past about 10 weeks old, adult cats almost never rub heads, knead, or meow at each other. Kittens do all three to their mothers. Adult cats, with other adult cats, basically stop, and yet your cat keeps doing every one of those things, constantly, for its entire life, with you. That gap between what cats do to cats and what cats do to you is the whole mystery this video is built around. Think of it like an old case file, and you're the subject. Roughly 10,000 years ago, cats opened a file on humans and never closed it. Your file says, large, non-threatening, feeds me, doesn't seem to understand hunting. Every generation of house cats since has been running off that same file, updating almost nothing. Some of what's in it is badly outdated. Some of it, weirdly, still checks out. And the newest evidence suggests the file might be more accurate than anyone expected and less accurate at the exact same time. So here's the theory in one sentence. Cats didn't get domesticated the way dogs did, with humans actively choosing which ones got to breed. Cats filed you into their own social software because nobody ever wrote a separate program for you. That's side A of this story, and it's the side most people already believe. Reason 1, kneading, that rhythmic pawing your cat does on blankets, laps, and your stomach. It traces straight back to nursing. Kittens press on their mother like that to help milk come down. Cat behaviorist John Bradshaw at the University of Bristol has spent decades documenting kitten behaviors like this one that only survive into adulthood when a human is in the picture. Cat to cat, it mostly disappears. Cat to you, it never does. Reason 2, the slow blink. You've probably seen your cat do this without realizing what it meant. A 2020 study out of the University of Sussex found something specific. Researchers Karen McComb and Tasman Humphrey discovered cats slow blink at their owners far more often than at strangers. And when you slow blink back at your cat, it almost always returns the gesture. That half-closed, sleepy-eyed look is a relaxed, non-threatening signal cats use with each other. Somewhere along the line, it got repurposed for a species with no fur, no tail, and no whiskers for your cat to read. Reason 3, and this is the one that started the whole video. Gifts. The dead mouse on your pillow. Researchers tie this to prey teaching, the exact behavior feral mothers use to train kittens, walking them through stunned or already dead prey before live, prey building up the skill gradually. One commonly cited figure suggests outdoor cats bring roughly 1 in 5 of their kills straight home instead of eating them. Some behaviorists argue a chunk of those aren't gifts at all. They're lessons. And they're aimed at you, specifically, because your cat has quietly decided you're underqualified to feed yourself. Here's the catch, though. None of that happened because humans sat cats down and trained them to think this way. Here's the pivot the whole theory hinges on. Roughly 10,000 years ago, in the Fertile Crescent, early farmers started stockpiling grain in one place for the first time in human history. Grain attracts rodents. Rodents attract wildcats. And here's the part that separates cats from every other domesticated animal you might own. Nobody selected cats for calm behavior the way early humans bred wolves into dogs. Humans did that on purpose, generation after generation, choosing the friendliest pups to breed. Cats never got that treatment. They walked in on their own, chasing the rats. It was the calmer, bolder individuals that stuck around longest, simply because humans tolerated them near the food supply instead of chasing them off. That's self-domestication, a process where natural selection quietly favors a trait, in this case tameness, with no breeding program steering it at all. Genetic research out of the University of Missouri, led by Wes Warren, backs this up in a strange way. When his team compared domestic cat DNA to the DNA of their wildcat ancestors, they found remarkably few differences. What differences they did find clustered mostly around fear response and reward-seeking behavior. Nothing close to the sweeping genetic overhaul you see in dog genomes after thousands of years of selective breeding. Translation: if your cat could read its own DNA report, it got maybe a small fraction of the domestication makeover dogs went through. It quietly kept the rest of its wild operating system running underneath, right beneath the surface of the animal curled up on your couch. So that's the old file. Cats never fully rewrote their software for you. They just ran the kitten-to-mother program on a new, oversized target, and it happened to work well enough that you let it keep running for 10,000 years. Now here's side B, and this is where your cat's file starts looking wrong, or at least badly out of date. Reason 1. Attachment styles. In 2019, researcher Kristen Vitale at Oregon State University ran cats through a version of the strange situation test. It's the same experimental setup psychologists used to measure attachment in human infants, and later, in dogs. Here's how it works. You leave the room for a short, stressful separation, then come back, and researchers watch what your cat does next. Roughly 65% of the cats tested showed what's called secure attachment. They sought out their owner after the separation, then visibly calmed down once reunited, instead of staying anxious or ignoring the person entirely. That percentage lines up almost exactly with what researchers find in human babies and pet dogs. That's not how an animal treats a slightly bigger, slightly dumber version of itself. That's how it treats you specifically, one irreplaceable individual it can't just swap out. Reason 2. Voice recognition. Researchers at the University of Tokyo, led by Atsuko Saito, ran a simple test. They played cats' recordings of their owner's voice calling their name, alongside a stranger's voice doing the exact same thing, saying the exact same name. No food reward was attached to either sound. Cats reliably oriented toward the owner's voice. Ears turned. Heads shifted, sometimes from another room entirely, toward the sound of you specifically. Your cat wasn't reacting to a voice. It was recognizing you. Reason 3. Context switching. Vitale's follow-up research found cats change their behavior depending on whether you're actively paying attention to them or ignoring them. They adjust how often they approach you, vocalize at you, or just stay put and wait. That's a level of tracking cats essentially never bother with toward each other outside of a mother watching her own kittens. It's not a blanket, one-size-fits-all misfire aimed at anyone nearby. It's individual, ongoing attention, and it's aimed at you. Here's where it gets messier though, and this is the part most videos on this topic skip entirely. Even in Vitale's own data, roughly a third of cats scored as insecurely attached, either anxious or avoidant. These are patterns that don't look like clean species recognition at all. They look like an unstable, half-finished system still figuring itself out. So the honest answer here isn't cats know exactly what you are, and it isn't cats think you're a cat either. It's that your cat appears to be running two systems at once, an old instinctive one and a newer, individually built one aimed at you. And depending on the specific animal sitting on your lap right now, one glitches into the other more than the other way around. And here's the reframe this whole video has been building toward. This was never really a contest between an ancient dumb instinct and a sophisticated modern bond, with one side needing to win. Both are true, stacked on top of each other, running in your cat's head at the same time. The kneading and the slow blink are the old file, a kitten-to-mother template that never evolved a separate version for you, so your cat just redirected it. The attachment data is the newer layer, an individual relationship written fresh, one specific cat and you built slowly through years of actual interaction. You're not a giant clumsy cat, and you're not fully recognized as human either. At least not in any way your cat could put into those words. You're something stranger than both. You're the only member of an entirely different species that got let into a filing system that was never designed to include you. So back to that dead mouse on your pillow. It's not really proof that your cat thinks you're a cat, and it's not really proof that your cat sees you as human either. It's both files sitting open at the same time at once. An ancient, 10,000-year-old prey teaching script is firing off exactly the way it was built to. It's aimed at one very specific individual. Your cat has spent years learning to recognize you by voice, by face, by the sound of your door, And according to the data, it actually misses you when you're gone. So the real question was never, does my cat think I'm a cat? That's the wrong file to be pulling. The real question is this: out of every creature your cat could ignore, avoid, or run from on sight, why does it keep choosing you? Why walk back across the room, drop the evidence at your feet, and wait for you to notice?